I didn't know if they were actually going to pull this off because I've been playing the Division for a long time, and there have been times where the devs have left us for 2 years without any content. There have been times where they've been lively, and other times where it was just mediocre. Most of the time, with every season or title update there is in the PTS, the exotics are great. I can't remember any title update wherein the exotic weapons and gear are not great. I mean, you could just think of the ones that we have. I don't have to name them. But this title update, most of the exotics are bad, and the gear set is actually not really that useful in any way besides damage resistance. And I don't know where they were going with this, but the good thing about this update is that despite the fact that the exotics are bad, the gloves and the pistol, utterly useless. We could talk about that later. But despite that fact, they have made big changes, and they're impactful. They have affected change for the future of the franchise. I can actually feel these quality of life changes while I'm playing. And this is one of the things that steered me away from PvP for a while because it hasn't been addressed at all. We were just left to the wolves, left to the vices of whatever comes with it. The expertise system being such an imbalance and conflict, and you going in there seeing people with level 20 expertise on everything that they have. That means that they hit 20% harder than you. That means that they're 20% more tanky, on top of the fact of how conflict is, or PvP is in general. So the simple fact that the expertise system is not a factor in conflict is a good step for the future. Now, the Dark Zone is another story. You can complain about the Dark Zone all you want, but the DZ is what it is, and it has been like that from the beginning. A controversial PvEvP environment. This is the one thing that separates the Division from any other game that I know. It's what drove its appeal from the beginning. So like it or not, there's exclusive gear in there. There are certain things that you can only get in there, and the expertise is not normalized. So you go in there with whatever build you have, and that's just the nature of the DZ. And a lot of people don't like it, but you have to really muster up the courage and go in there if you really want the exclusives that it offers. It doesn't matter where you go. In PvP, be it Dark Zone or not, there are going to be players that want to grief you just because. That's just the nature of it. But if you go in there and get some experience, you'll start to understand how to play the DZ, how to stay away from rogues, or go rogue, or whatever you want to do in there. Just go in there, break the ice. It's not as bad as you think. But what I'm saying is that the DZ is what it is, the conflict is what it is. So they've offered 2 PvP activities for players who are kind of hardcore and others who just want more of a balanced PvP experience. Now, I will say that despite the fact that the expertise is normalized in conflict, there's still a bit of a problem with the time to kill. That's always been an issue. And you've added enamel kits, which is another thing where you do an instant armor kit, which heals you for like a third of your armor. And then you've added hazard protection to the Restorer Chem Launcher. And so the enamel kits, when you use them, it doesn't really do anything except for get you out of danger at the most. You can't really use it in the middle of a fight and survive that fight because first of all, you have to stop shooting, then hit the button. By that time, you're probably just in a worse position you were before you hit the armor kit. So I think that maybe you should buff that in a way. I have some ideas, and this goes based on Division 1. Back in Division 1, you had an actual skill where you can push the button and it would heal you. It wasn't an armor kit, it was an instant heal, because in Division 1 we had med kits. You can use these in combination with your heal. That heal was based on the amount of skill power you had, so depending on how much skill power you had would depict how big of a heal you would get. Now the problem is with time to kill, like I said, is that no matter what, whether you have normalized PvP in conflict with no expertise, with nobody dealing this extra damage, there are too many factors involved that allow for you to just get melted no matter what you do. The damage is just too much. So if you're going to keep the damage to targets out of cover on the Fox's Prayer knee pads, the damage to armor on the Contractor's gloves, then you're going to have to do something to balance that out. It's too much damage all at once. That's just the fact. Every build that I see has either Fox's Prayer or Contractor's gloves mixed with Striker or something else. So you're going to have to do something to actually balance that out in a way where the time to kill is reined in a bit. You know what I mean? But as far as overall, what you're doing with this project, Resolve, I can literally see it. The status effects is not nearly as toxic as they are. Man, I feel your pain. I will go into conflict or the DZ. Somebody would throw a 6-tier hive and you're done. Pretty much you are done. But now, because of how diminishing returns works, whenever you get hit with one of those hives, because they come out in succession, quick succession at that, if you see that hive being dropped down in your vicinity, those drones are going to hit you fast. So the diminishing returns actually works faster against the hive because of the quick succession at which the drones come out of that thing. So you're going to immediately feel the diminishing returns. With a fire sticky bomb, it's a bit different, right? So you get shot with a fire sticky bomb. And if you have one that's souped up like crazy, sometimes I make them with really high status effects so you could just stay burned. You're going to feel that thing initially. And that initial burn and the subsequent damage might put you down immediately. But if I keep using that fire sticky, then you're going to notice the diminishing returns working in your favor. So that being said, this is really helping and allowing the community to engage without feeling like it's hopeless. And like I said before, in order to balance like Fox's Prayer and Contractor's Gloves, I think this is the perfect idea, right? I said this before, but let me say it again. I think that with the Fox's Prayer, make the damage to targets out of cover only for rifles. And then for the Contractor's Gloves, make that damage to armor bonus only for LMGs. But then you'd have to make something else that will give you a bonus. Like, let's say, the Sokolov named gloves, Firm Handshake, instead of doing the 15% status effects for its perfect attribute, why not put like close range damage, which is amplified? And then do something for Araldi. Do something for each weapon type specifically that allows for you to have some type of bonus. So this way you won't see DPS builds that have Fox's Prayer and Contractor's Gloves, and they're not even using that weapon type. They're using St. Elmo's. And by the way, St. Elmo's, that change that you made where they get slowed down, they don't just stop. I'm sorry, but that doesn't do anything. You might as well kept it to where they get locked in place, because you still get destroyed. You can't do anything. You can't jump. You can't move when you're electrified. It doesn't do anything. So yeah, I think that just had to be said. But anyways, the whole point of this video is try to express how the developers are really putting their foot into this one. Because we know that the Division 3 was announced. They're future-proofing this game so that they could come up with the best possible outcome for the Division 3, PvP and PvE. Now, I don't know what's going on with Heartland, but Red Storm used to work with the Division 2 developers in the beginning of this game's life cycle. So if they finish up with Heartland and come back here, polish the PvP even more, that'll be great. When it comes to PvE, that really hasn't been an issue, honestly. So they didn't have to do much with that because people are already having fun with PvE, legendary missions, and heroic. I think the PvE in Division 2 has mass appeal, and for good reason. But let me wrap this video up because I don't want to make it too long. Overall, I just want to say that the PvP is going in the right direction. So my suggestion for PvP, which I said, is to make every amplified bonus have its own weapon type so that you can separate the build diversity and make people think about how they want to deal damage so that they won't be so powerful and you won't get melted. This will in turn make other weapon types more powerful, because honestly, rifles are still underwhelming. They're not really as strong as they should be in PvP, at least. Even in PvE, they're not as powerful. So they could use a nice exclusive buff for them alone. And here's my suggestion for the enamel kits. Since they're kind of niche, they're okay. They only heal a third of your armor and they take away a whole armor kit. That's pretty tough. So my suggestion, since it's so easy for players to stack armor and have 2 million armor builds, 1.5 million armor builds, and hit like a truck, that's the advantage that they have, right? So if you made the enamel kits go based on skill tiers, so if you had more skill tiers, then you'd be allowed to get a bigger armor heal. I think this will really change things up and help out with build diversity as well, and kind of balance out this entire imbalance that we have when having these 1v1 engagements. Yannick said himself that he doesn't want it to be to where if I see you first, you're dead, or vice versa. He wants it to be more versatile in the engagements. And it hasn't really been that much different when it comes to 1v1 fights with everything that's been added so far. But overall, it's better. That's it for me, fam. I didn't want to say much in this video. Let me know what you think about what I said down below in the comment section. And like the video if you liked it. Also subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.
Going to whisper hello. I saw you once, I lost control. I'm probably thinking it's taking the wrong, but I won't let you go, let you go. When you feel it,